welcome to the Diamond Niner Gals podcast for week 10 of the 2023 season. I'm Nick. We've got producer Brad making it all go.
Hey.
And last but never ever least, head coach Ashley Chastain.
Good afternoon.
And Kevin is out on assignment this week, which makes it sound really important. Actually, he is doing something really important. It's spring break and he's in D.C. with his kids. They're having family vacay. So he left. Coach Brad, he trusted us to get this done without him. Can you believe he did that?
Not a wise decision, but
risky.
He knew Ashley would be here, so I think it was in good hands. All right, we've got some cool stuff to talk about this week. Another great week of Niner Gal softball. I think it's safe to say that Charlotte softball was on fire this week, both figuratively and literally. We'll get to that in a minute. But Coach, let's just get right into the games, and we've got some fun stuff to talk about this week. But you guys got your week started on Tuesday, and I think what looked like on the schedule to be a really key non-conference matchup. One, you were going on the road midweek, which is always a challenge. But not only that, but you were going down to Coastal Carolina, who came in with a lot of wins on their record and a lot of impressive stats to boot. And you guys went in there and took care of business in what I think I would consider it a resume win for you guys.
Yeah. Anytime you can win on the road, that's really good for your team sheet, your RPI. But Coastal had a great RPI going into that matchup. I think at the time they were in the low 70s. So it was a big game for us. I think the team knew that getting on the bus last Tuesday, going to Conway. It's about a 3-hour, 15-minute trip out there. So we left earlier in the day than we typically do, and went there with, hey, we're going to have to play really well to win this game. And so we talked about that. I think statistically, I talked with the pitching staff before the game in our team scout meeting before the game. Like when we arrive, we do a scout meeting in the visiting team locker room. And we had come off of winning the series at Western Kentucky. And I painted the picture that Coastal Carolina's offense was better than Western Kentucky's offense. And when I said that and we started really going through the lineup and going through the hitters, I really grabbed our pitching staff's attention. Like they really understood at that point that we were going to have to pitch really well against their offense, who has a ton of power and the ball really flies in Conway at their park. So, we made the decision not to throw Sam Grass last Tuesday. She had thrown a ton of pitches on the weekend at Western Kentucky. And I really felt like Lena Elkins and Maddie Wright, who was in relief of Lena, was the right decision. And I felt like they matched up really well. We wanted to keep the ball down and spin the ball down through the strike zone. And both of those guys do that really well. And so I was really proud of the way that we pitched. I thought Lena started the game off really well. And then we went to Maddie about halfway through the game, and I thought that she did a really good job. So I think it started there, and we were really kind of taken back by the starter that Coastal threw. We did not expect them to start the kid that they did. They didn't start their ace, but they started a kid that had thrown less innings on the year, and she threw really hard. So on the gun, she was throwing about 70 miles an hour. Didn't have great command over her stuff, but when the ball's that hard, sometimes pitch selection goes down because the speed of the ball is so high. So they scored first. They scored in the bottom of the third. Lena got us out of a jam there, or I think Maddie got us out of the jam actually. And then here we go in the top of the fourth, and really the highlight and the story of that win is Kaya Garrett. And I just really have to talk about her for a few minutes, because if you really deep dive into our statistics, Kaya Garrett as a pinch hitter for us she's been insane. She's been insanely good. Just the way that she comes off the bench as a leadoff or with runners in scoring position, her numbers are off the charts, and that's a really hard role to play. You get one at bat, maybe two at bats a game if we leave her in the outfield. And I think she's handled it really well. She's been such a team player with that role and has really embraced it and leaned into it and has been so successful and has scored a lot of runs in big moments for us. The Virginia Tech win, the big hit that she had off the bench there. So we got bases loaded in the top of the fourth and we pinch hit her. I believe for Anna Devereaux, I think. The ball left the yard off the bat. And if you go back and look at our social media, Walter Hernandez, our video guy who traveled with us, he gets her rounding first base, and just her reaction and her excitement rounding first base. It was such a special moment for the team. And rewatching that, I've rewatched it several times in the last week, and I'm really proud of that moment for her. And essentially that's what it came down to. We scored one more run later in the game, just kind of as insurance. But that was the moment that we won the game. I mean, we had the momentum from that moment on, and just really proud of Kaya Garrett. And she got the dugout card post game for that win. And it's a big win for us. It's a midweek road win against a really good Coastal Carolina team. That one will really help us, in the end when we're seeing where we go for the regional bid. You're right, Nick. I think it will have to help a lot, and really proud of them. We get back on the bus to head back to Charlotte, the 3-hour, 15-minute drive back to campus. And somehow they bribed me into stopping at the gas station to get Coke. That's what they wanted after the win. So they wanted Coke. So we stopped at the gas station. We got some Coca-Cola, and we headed back to Charlotte.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. So Kaya got the 4 ribbies. Anna Devereaux added the 5th. So what goes in? I mean, how early are you thinking about that as far as pinch hitting Kaya? You're standing there watching this inning play out. Walk us through your process, your thought process. How did you get to that point where you said, "Okay, Kaya, grab a bat"?
Yeah, so we've, Taylor and I are in the dugout about, I think the Louisville game was the first game that we actually took Taylor Wyke, our associate head coach, who runs our offense, off of third base. And her and I are now in the dugout. So we're kind of in constant conversation about situations. Our third spot in the order, I think Coastal broadcasters actually made a reference to Anna Devereaux in that third spot being a decoy, who's hitting over 300 right now. I mean, she's not really a decoy in the 3 spot, but Kaya can also play left field. So her and Anna are a little bit interchangeable. And for us in softball, which is different than baseball, we have a free sub on the starter. So I can bring Anna Devereaux out of the order and pinch hit Kaya Garrett. And whether I re-enter Anna to play left field, or if I send Kaya back out to left field for a couple innings to get her another at bat, I can re-enter Anna later in the game for the defensive decision. So it's a really cool opportunity, and it's very unique. Usually it's after Anna has had at least one at bat, Taylor and I start talking and having the conversation of, is this the moment for Kaya? Like, is this going to be the inning? And, prior to that inning starting, where we were at in the order, Winners got on. I don't know if Washington got on, but we had come from the bottom of the order and turned it over, and we had bases loaded. And Taylor had said before the inning even started, if we have runners in scoring position, when that spot comes up, it's Kaya's turn. So we had stated that before the inning had started. And, the brains behind that really, most of that credit goes to Taylor Wyke. Her and I had that conversation in between innings. And then we go into the dugout and we tell Kaya, hey, like, if we come up to that spot, we've got runners in scoring position, it's going to be you. So she gets her stuff ready and she goes ahead and kind of starts to do her mental process from the bench to the in the hole to the on deck circle to in the box, which, we have a really specific process for that for all of our hitters. So hopefully it starts as the inning begins, and it's very situational. Sometimes if the situation that Taylor and I discussed doesn't present itself, then we say, okay, it'll definitely be the last at bat. So it'll be Anna's last at bat, usually of the game, that third, sometimes fourth at bat. But yeah, that's kind of how it is. It's been, I think, one of our greatest strengths that we're bringing Kaya Garrett, Maddie Wright, and Ari Rohde off the bench. Those 3 are getting our pinch hit opportunities, and they've all 3 been really stellar for us in that role.
Yeah, and you bring up Maddie in 3.2 innings in relief, 0 earned runs, pick up the W. I don't know if you've watched. You made reference to it about their broadcast team. I don't know if you've watched the game back, but in the bottom, in the bottom of the third, they scored that one, and they made a reference. There was something they said to the tune of, getting that one run it provides you a little security, or it makes you feel a little better, or something like that. And it was like no sooner than they had said it, bam, there goes your four RBIs, and it's like, how safe were you?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I'm going back and looking at the box score right now. I pulled it up because I didn't have it in front of me. Kaya Garrett in this situation, she a lot of times hits for Anna, but we had actually hit Ari for Anna. We pinched hit Savannah Wynn for Kaya Garrett in this situation. So Ella was on, Bailey was on, Lexi Winters was on. Those were the three on base. And then we pinch hit for Savannah Wynn, which, Savannah Wynn has been someone that has gotten on base for us a lot. So her on base percentage has been great. She's been hit by pitches, walked. She's a single, like up the middle type of girl right now, which has been super valuable for us. But we knew in that situation with bases loaded, it was an opportunity for like some power. And that's exactly what Kaya brought in the moment. So I misspoke. I apologize. She pinch hit for Savannah Wynn. But if you've been watching us play, you know that, Kaya has pinched hit for Anna and kind of interchangeable in that spot several times here as of late. So, but I think the announcers jinxed it a little bit.
No, I'll tell you the truth about this, as I always do. I was looking at that on paper as you were laying it out, and because I believe in you so much, I assumed that the box score was wrong.
No. I was wrong. I'm sitting here. I pulled it back up just to make sure I had it right. We had winners in the 9 hole for several weeks, and we've moved her up to the 4 hole. And that's where my brain had gotten confused because we had moved her up. So she was in the 4 hole against Coastal. And then Bailey's been in the 5, which is a big RBI opportunity in the 5 hole. And then Ella's been in the 6, and Savannah Wynn has been in the 7 consistently. With bases loaded there, we just wanted a big hit. And that's what Kaya has been bringing to the table. And I'm just so proud of her for that moment. And I really do urge you, if you haven't gone back and watched her rounding first base, it's on our Twitter. I mean, it is just like such a cool fist pump the air. Like that's what it's about moment.
Yeah, that's great. And all our teams have really talented people that are there capturing this. There's like the video that's being shown on TV, and then they capture that layer just beneath. It's really good stuff. Well, let's move on to the weekend because you brought up Lexi Winters. I feel like we're going to have a chance to talk about Lexi here in a minute. In the industry, they call that foreshadowing. The big story of the weekend on both sides of Phillips Road was the weather, and not a way around it. It was just terrible. You started the series on Thursday with a doubleheader, did get 2 games in, but then the next 2 days were just deluge. I mean, lost a game off the schedule on both sides of Phillips Road this weekend, and that was really unfortunate because I feel like you guys were poised for another win, and felt like the guys were building some momentum on their side of the street as well. But yeah, so you guys, you're always saying 24 hours out. Let's wait and see what the weather's going to look like. But you kind of had to know, right, going into Thursday, that these might be the only 2 games you're going to play. Was that really your feeling?
Yeah. Actually, we reached out to Middle Tennessee on Monday, so a week ago, and just heads up to their head coach of this is what the weather forecast looks like, and we really try to not make decisions about the weather until the day prior because it does change a lot. And this forecast did not look like it was going to change much. I think just in good gamesmanship, we knew that we wanted to get 2 games in no matter what. And so as much as we hate double headers, which I do, everyone that knows me knows that, we agreed to play a doubleheader on Thursday, knowing that we probably weren't going to be able to play another game with the forecast being so strong, 100% chance of rain. And it was the amount of rain that we were going to get over 2 full days. And the series had been moved Thursday, Friday, Saturday due to Easter back, last August and September. So that had been in place for a long time. Middle Tennessee bused here, they drove. So it's not like they could extend their stay. They didn't have like a set flight or anything like that. So we knew we had 3 days. 2 of them looked like we were not going to play. So it made sense for us to go ahead and play a doubleheader on Thursday. And we made that decision Wednesday after we got back from Coastal that we would start at noon on Thursday for a doubleheader, which, now hindsight was the right decision, because if you were in Charlotte, North Carolina this past weekend, Friday and Saturday were terrible with the weather. I mean, it rained nonstop for 48 hours. And, it's just now really with yesterday and today's weather started to, dry out the ground. But we got 2 inches of rain in 2 days, and the field was, was soaked. So they went home actually on Friday with getting 2 games in on Thursday. Middle Tennessee, we knew that we knew we weren't going to play another game. So they went home Friday, and we canceled the series Friday afternoon, middle of the day on Friday. But yeah, I mean, talking about the series, it was, I challenged the team. So we have not won a doubleheader yet this year. And, if you ask me why that is, I have no idea. But I challenged the girls before the series. I told them that. I wasn't sure if they were really aware of that or not. But we either lose game 1 and turn it on for game 2, or vice versa. We win game 1 and we just kind of coast through game 2. And we hadn't been able to win 2 back-to-back games. And I challenged them before the series started. We met at 9:20 to start the day on Thursday. That I got excused from class all day. And we started our scout meeting at 9:20 for a noon start. And the challenge was to win 2. That was what their focus was on from the first pitch of game 1, was no matter how long this takes, we knew that there was rain and lightning in the forecast for the afternoon. We're going to win 2 games today, because if we want to get where we want to go, which is a championship season, conference tournament, NCAA regional, super regional, deep into postseason, eventually we're going to have to win 2 games in a day. And it was just something on our resume with this team that we had not been able to do. And so that was the focus, and that was the challenge. Most of the time I'm very much with them like, hey, let's focus on this game. Let's put this one in our pocket, and then we'll focus on game 2 when it's here. But I took a little bit more of an aggressive approach with them of like, hey, like we've got 2 games to play and I want us to win both of them. And that's what your mind is set on right now. No coasting, no, like, let's turn it on game 2, whatever the thought process is, like, let's go win 2. So I think in game 1, Ashley Washington's first at bat, homered and scored. We scored first. I think she set the tone for the rest of the day and ended up taking us. We started at 9:20 and we didn't get done with both games until almost 9 p.m. So it was almost a 12-hour day for us. It was a really grueling grinded out day because of the lightning and the weather delay through the afternoon. But her first at bat really set the tone for the entire weekend, for the entire series, which ended up being Thursday only. So I was really proud of them. We scored early. We scored 4 runs in the first 2 innings. And then we didn't score again. We won 4-2, and Middle scored 2 runs in the top of the 7th. We went Sam Gress to Maddie Wright, and we got the win. I thought Sam grinded the game out. She overthrew a little bit. Her pitch count was a little bit high, but the thing about Sam Gress is just like, she's going to find a way. And Maddie was ready with a 4-0 lead in the 7th inning. Like, Maddie was ready to get the job done and close the door and win us the game. And I really think Maddie's been throwing better these last couple weeks. In the last 10 games, Maddie Wright's ERA is like 1.75, I believe. So she's she's really kind of turning it on for us here in this latter half of conference play, which is exactly what we need. We needed somebody else in the pitching staff to really step up and get the job done. And I think Maddie and Lena have been doing a really good job these last 2 weeks.
So I was watching game one. I have found a perch at the Hayes on the first base side, high above, where I can look right down the third base line and right into home plate at the Sioux. Mm-hmm. So I can kind of keep two things going at once. And from my perch up there during game one, I was up there and that's when I first saw the fire truck.
Yeah.
And now I'll tell you, if you're on campus a lot, you hear sirens because there's always something going on, with up at the rec center, or somebody, twist an ankle or something, whatever, there's always different things going on, or somebody pulls a fire alarm or whatever. Well, this fire truck seemed to be heading our direction. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, it made that left right in to go to the Sioux and to the Wells Fargo Fieldhouse. And I had no idea. No, everybody over in the baseball stadium is looking over there like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah.
And then they left. And I didn't know this until later. It was actually Tiffany Tisdale came over and she filled me in on what happened. But Coach, why don't you fill everybody in from your perspective? What exactly was going on over there during game one?
Yes. Ashley Washington is the hero in the dugout for the game, but I do have to say, Tiffany Tisdale, she gets a shout out for game one. And to be honest, I did not know any of this was happening. So we're so tunneled in the dugout. I might have heard sirens subconsciously in the background, but I had no idea any of this was happening. So back half of the game, our post-game meal, so we had a doubleheader. We ordered food from the Chartwell's Catering Company here on campus, and it arrives at a certain time. So we have all that stuff planned out. And so the food had arrived. Our manager staff, Drew, Ryan, and Sammy, told the people where to set the food up. They're great at what they do. So they were getting the meal ready. Chartwell's came in and set up our post-game in between doubleheader meal. The kids would eat it in the 30 minutes. They have to change their uniform, eat, and then come back out for game two. So the food had arrived, and whoever brought the food from Chartwell's neglected to put water in the pans in between the sterno flame and the actual food. And so without that liquid barrier, the food caught on fire, and we had a small fire here happening in Wells Fargo. And so all this was happening. I had no idea any of this was happening until someone came and tapped me on the shoulder in the middle of the game and said, hey, there's been a fire in Wells Fargo. And they didn't even have to get the sentence out, because anyone that knows me knows that my sweet little senior dog, Betsy, she goes with me everywhere. She's at work with me every day. She's in my office during the games. And so instantly I thought about Betsy being in this burning building, and I run out of the dugout. I was like, she's like my child. So luckily we were hitting when someone came and tapped me on the shoulder to let me know that there was a fire in the building. And so I come in here, the fire had already been put out. There was smoke and the alarm had been turned off by the firemen that came. But Tiffany Tisdale, who was in the stands, knew all this was happening. And her first thought was Betsy. She's also a dog lover. Her and Carl have small dogs who are at the Sioux a lot. She thought about Betsy, and I'm so thankful she did, because my little sweet Betsy was in here curled up in her bed, just, either she couldn't hear a fire alarm, or she just was laying there, and she didn't want anyone to pick her up. So they were trying to get her out of the building because it was kind of smoky in here. So I came in here, picked Betsy up, brought her outside, and Tiffany Tisdale took her for a walk just to get her out of the smoky area until they could ventilate the space. That all happened in about a minute and a half before I was back in the dugout and knew that she was safe. But, here's my sweet girl, Betsy. That's her. But yeah, so that happened behind the scenes in game one. So we had a little bit of some burnt pasta post game one in between the games. But Tiffany Tisdale, she's got Betsy and I's back.
So, and what I find remarkable, even more remarkable about all of this, the game never stopped.
No, the game did not stop.
At what point? I mean, it didn't get this far, thank God. But I mean, if the Flames are shooting out the top of the roof of the field house, do you think the game would stop then? I mean,
yeah, I do. I
hope we don't have to find out. But
yeah.
I know that building's due for some renovations, but I don't think that's the way we want to do it. And I'm sure Darren Spies would tell us, no, that's not the way we want to do it. But did anybody think about just stepping out on them and saying, hey, Blue, time?
I didn't ask that question. I'm assuming that because the fire was really small and they contained it and it wasn't like a big, fire. I feel like they just kind of took care of it and, the game played on. And if someone had not come to me in the dugout and told me about it, I would not have even known about it until post game. So they did a great job at handling the situation. And yes, if you know anything about this building, Wells Fargo Fieldhouse, it is cinder blocked. I mean, it would take just a massive fire to burn this building down. And we're building our own new building in the 2024 calendar year. So we are moving out of Wells Fargo, which we can talk about on another episode of this podcast. But we definitely don't want this building to burn down right now in the middle of conference play. That's not what we want. So
no, that's not the way we want to renovate that building.
It's not.
But
especially with Betsy inside or anybody inside the building.
Betsy inside. So yeah, that happened during game one. And we were all just up there in the stands looking across, going, well, what are they doing? What is that all about? Mm-hmm. And the comment was even made, well, it must not be that serious. They're still playing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was like, yeah, it is what it is. Okay, so you guys go ahead and you pick up the 4-2 win. You talked about Ashley setting the tone. Cass followed it up with a home run of her own for another 3 runs in the second inning. And as you mentioned before, the Sassy Pony went 6.2 innings pitched with no earned runs. So you get game one, and then you guys get 30 minutes to eat some extra crispy breadsticks. and then we go into game two, which ends up as a 9-5 win for you guys. But I know you'll talk about some of the performances. One in particular, I know you're going to mention. But this game involved a 3-hour rain delay as well. So this game, I'm not sure what inning you guys were in at that time. You'll be able to tell me, but both sides of the road, we had a 3-hour rain delay in the middle of this game, which really made it. I know that's got to make what you're doing and the plans you're making challenging. It's you kind of take your game plan and just it's almost like it kind of wads it up and you have to start over because when you're 3 out, you get 30 minutes in between real games, but there you're taking a 3-hour break. That has to be quite a chore to get your team refocused, reloaded, and ready to go again.
Yeah, it's definitely a very unique and interesting scenario. We actually got game 2 started. Barefoot was our starter, and we got through the top of the first, and then we did not throw a pitch in the bottom of the first with Washington coming up. And it was more of a lightning delay than a rain delay. To be honest with you, I don't think it ever actually rained in the delay. It was just all lightning. So we had kind of cells and storms all around us. And unfortunately, we got a cell that entered the 8-mile radius. It was right on the border, and the 8 miles is the rule of thumb for lightning in the area. So we got a strike about 8 miles away, and so had to halt the game. And once you get lightning, you have to have 30 minutes of no lightning before you can restart, or before you can bring the team back out to warm up to restart. So it just adds so much time to what you're doing. And so we didn't even get a pitch in the bottom of the first. We got 3 outs in the top of the first, went into a lightning delay for about 3 hours, and it just kind of sat around us and moved around. It never actually rained. We thought it was going to rain. It showed that there was a big storm kind of headed right to us. And from what I hear, it actually poured in South Charlotte, but never made it up to University. We just got the lightning side of that storm. So we put the tarp on just in case, because we didn't want to lose the field. And we kind of sat around for those 3 hours. And it is logistically and mentally kind of a unique situation for the team. They all were in the locker room just hanging out, staying kind of just with each other and loose and, spending time together. As far as Barefoot goes, who had thrown the top of the first, we wanted her to continue to throw. So we have a heat compression. It's called a Venom shoulder. And so we put that on her, just trying to keep her arm warm for what we thought would be a shorter delay than 3 hours. But essentially she had to reactivate completely once we started back 3 hours later. We had to order another meal because we eat a lot around here. We don't go hungry in the Niner Gals world. So we ordered another meal. Marco's Pizza here down the street has become a staple of our program. When we eat Marco's Pizza, we don't lose. So, the kids wanted Marco's Pizza. They got Marco's Pizza about an hour and a half, 2 hours into the delay. And we just kind of waited it out. As soon as we knew that we were going to restart at 6 o'clock, we gathered the team back up about 25 minutes before that, and we kind of refocused. So the dial was turned down significantly for a couple hours, and then we slowly turned the dial back up in our second warm-up in the start of the restart of game 2. And I thought they handled it really well. I mean, as the coach and as my perspective, I don't think they could have done a better job at turning the dial back up and then restarting exactly where we left off mentally, physically, everything. Like, you would have never known that we had been off the field for 3 hours if you were just getting to the Sioux at 6 p.m. So really proud of them for that, because it sounds a lot easier than it actually really is. So I think the story of game 2 is obviously Lexi Winters, and I'm really proud of her. Lexi Winters is somebody that, if you followed us this year, she struggled some offensively that first month of season, as many freshmen do. I mean, we stuck by her and we kept training and kept with her, and just trying to help her through mentally the disappointment of getting off to a slow start as a freshman, and was still catching a lot for us. I mean, she's an elite catcher behind the plate, and has built a lot of really great rapport with our pitching staff. And so she's been on the field a lot for us. And then someone that was in the bottom of the order that we've moved up now into the middle of the order, and is making a big impact. And then just went off in the second game against Middle Tennessee, hit 3 balls out, 7 RBIs, which is the single game RBI record for the program. I did not know that until our SID, Bryant Avery, came to me right as soon as the game was over and said, I believe she just got the RBI record in a single game. And so he confirmed that night. He went back to the books and just made sure. And then Friday morning, Good Friday, we had team breakfast at 9 a.m. and we celebrated that together, and really kind of took a few moments as a team to celebrate Lexi Winters and the journey that she's had up to this point as a freshman, which has been such a cool story of perseverance and just, staying with it when it didn't go your way, and is really starting to play her best right now, which is exactly when we need her.
I believe, it was either in a casual conversation off to the side or on here, could be either. But I remember the comment being made that you said that once we get Lexi acclimated as a freshman, she's going to be a player.
Yeah.
And I think she might be acclimated now. Coach?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she mashed in the fall and she mashed our pitching staff in the preseason in January. And so, and honestly, recruiting her before she was a Niner, we've always believed that she could hit. She has just some innate talent. We'd seen her have a ton of power and really good pitch selection, really great what seemed to be bat ball skills at the plate. I mean, didn't swing and miss a lot. Just was really excited about her offensive ceiling, really, going into her freshman year. And, she hit so well in the fall and in January, and then she just kind of pumped. I mean, it just kind of like hit the brakes in February. And I mean, let's not overlook the fact that we've played the number one non-conference strength of schedule in the country. And so as a coach, freshmen playing a lot, she's facing All-American arms. I mean, we have faced two arms that could potentially be National Player of the Year. The kid from Stanford that we faced in Athens who didn't give up an earned run for the first month and a half of season. And Valerie Cagle down at Clemson, who's a contender for National Player of the Year. I mean, we have really challenged our offense with some really great arms. And I think they're reaping the reward of that now. As we're in the latter half here of conference play, we lead the conference in a lot of offensive statistics that we shared with them the other day. That was a really fun conversation. But I think she was challenged at a really high level in February and mentally just, kind of hit a block. And that happens. It happens at the highest levels. It happens in the big leagues. It happens at the highest level of our game. It happens in all sports. And, I'm just so proud of her for sticking with it and really working through it when I'm sure, honestly, there were some days where she just didn't want to because she was so disappointed. But there wasn't a day that she didn't come to practice or there wasn't a day that she showed up that you could really tell, that she was struggling at the plate. She worked her butt off through February and into March. And, now you see what she's doing. She broke her record in her freshman year, starting to write her name in the record books. And I just think her ceiling is so high and we just haven't seen, we're not even close to seeing what she can do yet, really behind the plate or in the box.
Yeah. So before we move on to getting ready for the week ahead, you did get that W 9-5. So you won that doubleheader. Some other performances to point out. Cass went 3 for 4, collected a couple of doubles, and Devereaux went 4 in that game with a couple of ribbies. And Lena Elkins went 4.2 innings with only 1 earned run. So a good performance all the way around on that doubleheader Thursday. So let's take a quick look as we move forward into next week because let's talk about where we stand for a little bit. We're I know it seems like we just started this, but we're actually moving into the back half of the season here, and we're coming down the stretch. There's really 3 series left in this regular season. You guys are 24-14, 11-3 in the conference. That's good for a 27 RPI right now, largely due to that strength of schedule that you mentioned. You're 2 games up in the standings with 9 to play. And here's producer Brad John on the spot with RPIs for the Conference USA schools. You've got at North Texas this weekend, at Louisiana Tech, and then UAB coming back here. But you guys are, there's those conference standings. You guys are kind of, you've earned the right to be in charge of your own destiny here. And this is a big weekend with North Texas coming up. I don't want to skip over the midweek game, but yeah, that's you guys are kind of in the driver's seat right now, Coach.
Yeah, we are. And that's what we talked about going into the Middle Tennessee series is, hey, we're in the driver's seat. Let's stay in the driver's seat. I challenged them to win a doubleheader and they responded and did that. So yeah, I think they're in a really great place mentally. And I think they know where they stand. I mean, our players, they want to go deep in the postseason and they check the standings. They know, that UTSA got a game against Western this past weekend. I mean, they check that stuff all the time. So they're very aware, and I think they're very aware that we have earned the right to stay, or we've earned the right to be in the driver's seat right now with how they performed in the conference play. And it is essentially our own destiny at this point. We don't have to rely on anybody else, which is a great place to be. I think with that could come a little extra pressure that, hey, we've got a little bit of something to lose. And so I've been in touch with our leadership and our captains in the program just to make sure that we're keeping a really good pulse on our mindset and our approach and our process, and just, playing our ball, which is, loose and fun. And this weekend going into North Texas is a big one for us. North Texas is traditionally at the top of Conference USA, and they went to regionals last year, winning the conference tournament at their place, and they're a good program. They were ranked preseason going into this 23 season. And so this is not a team that we're going to fly into Dallas and go to Denton, Texas and take lightly. I can guarantee you that. Like, we are not going to take the series lightly. I don't even have to really motivate the team to not take the series lightly. They have so much respect for North Texas, and they know that they're a good team. And so they know that we're going to have to go in and really play our best ball. I think it's probably going to come down to how well we hit their pitching staff. If our pitching staff gives us a chance to win all 3 games, it's going to come down to us against their pitchers. I mean, they've got several arms that are really good, and we've got some information on all of them. 2 of them are returning, Savage and Peters. And so we'll attack in preparation. We'll attack a plan against all those guys. We've played them 4 times last year. So we played in regular season, then played them in the conference tournament. So we've got a lot of information, and we've seen them play, different games so far this year. So it'll, I think, come down to if we can score and how much we can score, and, just key situations offensively against their pitching staff this weekend. We embrace that challenge and lean into it. And I definitely don't think they're going to Denton, Texas and going to take this matchup lightly. I think they want to stay in the driver's seat, and they know what they need to do in order to continue that over this last month of conference play. We've got North Texas this weekend, and then it's our non-conference bye weekend the next weekend, and then in Ruston, Louisiana, which we've not been to since I've been here. And then we've got UAB to finish up senior weekend here at the Sioux before we go to conference tournament. So, but yeah, North Texas can pitch. They definitely can pitch, and that's kind of the matchup that we're expecting going into there. But yeah, I mean, like you alluded to, we've got a big opponent coming in Wednesday in Liberty.
Yeah. So I was going to get us back to that.
Yeah.
We're working our way on wrapping up here, but we're about out of time. But I was going to get you back there. Now, I'm going to say this. Take a moment to say this, and I'm not even going to ask you for a comment on this because this is not even the kind of thing coaches talk about. But on this side of things, on this side of the screen, depending, we're going to be doing not just scoreboard watching this weekend, folks, because those games are all on ESPN Plus. That's the good news. You can see that 7:00 on Friday, 2:00 on Saturday, and 1:00 on Sunday, all on ESPN Plus. So check those out. We're not only going to be doing some scoreboard watching, but depending on how this weekend goes, this is when we start exploring clinch scenarios. That's the part of the year that on this side of the computer screen, that's where people like me start figuring out, and SIDs start figuring out those kind of things that coaches don't pay any attention to whatsoever, ever. But we'll be doing that hopefully this time next week. So to your point, let's go back and talk about Liberty, because like we talked about last Tuesday with Coastal Carolina, it was kind of a resume builder. You got another resume builder on Wednesday night at the Sioux. Yeah.
So really cool story about this, and I know we're wrapping up here, but we didn't schedule Liberty originally. So if you've paid attention to our social back when we were at Western Kentucky, I believe, or maybe the weekend before that, randomly it showed up on our social media that we added a game against Liberty here at home on April 12th. So Back when we were at FAU, Dot Richardson, the head coach at Liberty, reached out to me and asked if we would play them this Wednesday here at home. This was a week that we actually did not have a midweek scheduled, so we had this week off going to North Texas this weekend. It's just kind of how the schedule worked out. There really was no rhyme or reason behind that on my end. But she reached out and said that, they would love to come down and play us here at home. And I think they were down a couple games. They must have lost a couple games early in the year. And, periodically throughout the year, people sometimes try to pick up games. So that's kind of how it happened. We agreed, of course, right away of like, hey, that's an awesome opportunity for us. I've been wanting to play Liberty for the past several years and just it hasn't worked out for us to schedule them. So we jumped on the opportunity, got the contract ready, and then we were able to go public with it a few weeks later once it was all finalized on the back end. So you're so right, Nick, about this is another resume builder midweek for us. Liberty has a great strength of schedule, and they have a really high RPI. So we're excited about Wednesday. And I think Liberty is a team, if Dot will agree, that you'll start to see on our schedule every single season here at Charlotte. I have so much respect for her and what she has done at Liberty. And honestly, coming into Charlotte 4 years ago, that was a group of 5 program that Mike and I talked a lot about of like, that's what we want to be. We want to be a group of 5 that is competitive with any Power 5 school in the country and be a national contender here at Charlotte. So we use Liberty as an example, and I have a lot of respect for their players and their program, and they're really high level, and it's going to be a really good game Wednesday night. So we love good competition, as you know. And so, yeah, we're really excited about that matchup on Wednesday. Like I said, our midweeks here on Wednesday have been the most challenging games that we've had, or some of the most challenging games we've had throughout our schedule. And this Wednesday will be no different than that.
That game is at 5:00 at the Sioux. It's on ESPN Plus, but just a quick check of the weather: 73 and sunny on Wednesday. So if you are at all able to do so, don't watch it on ESPN Plus. Come out to the Sioux and do it there. Even better. 25 and 13, 10 and 2 in conference in the Atlantic Sun, and an RPI of 37. So this is definitely a resume builder. Man. I know we say this every week, but man, it's another big week of softball coming up. You guys schedule it just who builds these schedules? I don't know. You guys have no let up whatsoever. It's so much fun to watch.
Thank you. It's that time of year. We're here in the back half of the season, or a little past that, honestly. So it's just every game is big. It's like we're getting week to week closer to postseason. So it's just really exciting. And the weather is warming up, and, it's starting to feel like spring. And this is the time of year that you think about really the rest of the year, is softball in April. And that's where we're at. So we're very excited about Wednesday. And also the weather looks good in Texas this weekend too. So we are excited to play 3 games over 3 days. If the forecast sticks.
Yeah, well, you're bound to catch a break sooner or later, Coach.
Right.
Bound. Right. All right, folks, we are out of time for this week. We appreciate each and every one of you joining in. If you're enjoying this content, think about subscribing to the YouTube channel. Turn on notifications. You get notifications of fresh content. You can find Diamond Niner Report on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, still never TikTok. We love talking to you folks, so feel free to reach out. If you're old-fashioned like we are, just say hello at the ballpark. That works too. For producer Brad, Coach Chastain, this has been Nick saying we will see you at the Sioux.
Get the Sioux.